Hello and welcome to the 50th annual meeting here in Orlando, Florida. I am Lars Daleside and I'm joined right now by Webster Barnaby from Birmingham, but not that Birmingham. What Birmingham are you actually from?
Birmingham, England.
Well, with the full accent and everything. Now it's has to amaze, amaze me, and sure to amaze some of the viewers here, but there was quite the journey to you because you are now currently in the state legislature. You are an elected official here in the great state of Alabama?
No, the great state of Florida.
Florida,
the free state of Florida.
I'm still locked on Birmingham. I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
The free state. How does one start off in Birmingham, in the UK, and end up here in the States?
Well, it's a great story, Lars. Through providence and divine will, I believe I came to the United States having went on vacation and met my American bride back in 1984. Dated her a long distance, writing letters.
Where were you vacationing?
Well, I was vacationing in my parents' home country in the Caribbean, the island of Jamaica.
Now that's a place to vacation. You can't argue with that.
That was really great.
And from what the weather they usually have there in the UK, I'm guessing that it was a welcome relief.
It was my first visit ever to the Caribbean. And there in the Caribbean island of Jamaica, and back in 1984, I would fortuitously meet some American girls and wanted to know where exactly they were from. And they said the United States Virgin Islands. And I'm like, wow, the U.S. has a Virgin Islands? I've never heard of that one. Oh, yeah. So I found out the Virgin Islands, of course, was purchased by the United States back in 1917 from the Danish government for $25 million in gold. And today it's a territory of the United States, St. Thomas, St. John, St. Croix, all part of the territory of the United States. So I was very fortunate to meet the most beautiful girl from the Virgin Islands, Miss Sylvia then Jacobs, who 3 years later, after meeting her, became my wife.
Well, at that time, when you're still over in the UK, what were you doing over there professionally?
Professionally, I was an area housing manager for the Birmingham City Council. So I worked as a property manager, ostensibly, for the Birmingham City Council for 10 years.
10 years over there doing that.
Yep.
And then still very much a young lad, take your fortunes to go follow love here in the States. Was she here in Florida?
No, she was actually in the U.S. Virgin Islands.
She was? Okay.
Yeah. And so, we got married in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and I lived over there for 3 years and then came stateside to Florida in 1991.
Okay. Now, over there, so now you said that you've been serving in the Florida State Legislature for 3 years now.
Yes.
And you had some experience over there with the government in the UK as well. What were you seeing by way of what have you been able to bring from that experience over there to us here in Florida?
Well, I think in terms of policy, I understand a little bit more, managing property, that public policy is so important in terms of, we hear a lot about affordable housing today. It's a buzzword. And, I'm a free market enterprise guy. I don't believe in social engineering. I think social engineering, while it might sound noble, I think it has a lot of errors that will eventually lead people to dependency upon the government. And I think people need to be less dependent and more independent. Very important how we understand the two words, dependency versus independent. And so one of the things that I've tried to foster in the Florida House is that my constituents understand that they are more prosperous and a lot more free when they are independent rather than when they are shackled by a dependency on government.
Yeah, and it's amazing. It takes some folks a while to comprehend that, if they ever comprehend it at all, which is, I guess, sort of the sadder part, at least from my point of view, that the people hear that the government is offering, and it's free, And they don't really realize what free means. It doesn't really mean that it's free. It just means that someone else is paying for it, that we're all paying for it.
Yeah. And that's the conundrum. And that's why I felt it was very important for me to be involved in public service based on my experience, my life experiences, living on 3 continents and understanding that in the free state of Florida, it's important that we project as lawmakers to the public that we are trying to serve them for the better. We're not trying to hurt or harm or injure them. There's a big debate right now in Florida about education as it relates to African Americans and whether or not the Black history is taught or whether or not certain aspects of Black history is quote unquote banned. I don't see it as things being banned. I don't see it as things being taken out. I just see it as history being taught accurately so that people can properly comprehend the atrocities and the horrors of slavery, and at the same time understand how we as a nation and as a people have overcome so many things. And yes, we've got a ways to go, but I think with the right motives, we can teach and educate our children so that our state will continue to be a beacon of hope and freedom and a light and a magnet for people to continue to want to come. 1,000 people a day are moving to Florida. They're not swimming away. They're coming here, as I did, legally, and they're working towards improving the United States and to create a more perfect union.
We had Governor DeSantis just yesterday speaking to the crowd, touching on some of those very points about the work that he has been doing hand in hand with those of you in the legislature to help improve Florida's education, despite what you're hearing from some of the naysayers about what's being done versus, someone like yourself who's actually there on the ground floor watching what's being done. And there's a very 2 different tales.
Yes, it is. I commend Governor DeSantis for his bold initiative and for his bold defense of conservatism, his bold defense of capitalism, his bold defense against the woke ideology that is rampant in trying to destroy this nation. We face real threats, emerging threats from different world markets, be it China, be it Russia, and other places around the globe. And we must get this teaching correct. Our children need to be educated, not indoctrinated. And I, for one, I'm a proud father, former PTA president of a private school here in Florida. And I worked for 3 years as the PTA president. So I understand, my role as a parent. One of my children graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis.
Wow.
The other one was salutatorian for the University of Florida. And that didn't happen by osmosis.
There might have been a little parental oversight involved in that.
There clearly was. Parents have a right to be in charge of their teachers, their children's future, and of their education and their rearing, their upbringing. And that was the whole debate when we were challenged by the big entertainment company from Burbank, California. They've got a place called the Mouse House down the road here.
Right.
But they felt that they wanted to be in charge of children's education, and we said no. We rejected that notion. We don't dislike the Mouse. We love Disney. We thank God for the beautiful entertainment that we have in our state, but we will not kowtow to people from Burbank, California. We are the Florida legislature. We set the laws in the state for the people of the free state of Florida. We will remain the free state of Florida.
As well you should. It's something we're getting down near the end. It just sort of struck me. And of course, it takes me a while. I was going to say, I finally did the math while we were sitting here. It takes me a while to do math. Just ask my parents about that. It was well reflected in my grades. But you actually started serving right there as the epidemic kicked off.
Yes.
So with what everybody saw, the difference, I mean, being up in North Virginia, being right outside of Washington, D.C., the reports that we had there, what was going on, and those crazy people down in Florida, what are they doing? What was it like to be here to actually experience that part of it? Like, to see be one of the first states, if not the first state, in the nation to open back up the businesses, to open back up the churches, and get everything's in the schools rolling again.
It was very powerful as an adjectives I would use, because we wasn't necessarily being defiant. I mean, there's something about being a disruptor versus being disruptive. Again, we was not trying to be disruptors, or you had to be disruptive.
Right.
In your washing machine at your house, there's an instrument called an agitator. And someone, in order to keep your clothes clean, needs to agitate. Florida agitated against the science that was being perpetrated by Dr. Fauci and the CDC, who felt that they wanted to usurp our role, our 10th Amendment rights as states' rights. And we felt there had to be some pushback, because we shouldn't have to lay down. We knew that we had a responsibility to the people of the great state of Florida. So rather than being defiant, we said, we're going to be disruptive. We're going to be disruptive and insist that our kids go to school. We're going to be disruptive and insist that you are able to go to your job, that you don't have to take the jab based on your personal health records. You have the right to choose what goes into your body versus being forced to put something into your body. Medical freedom, very, very important. And so we as Florida demonstrated through our leadership that we are leaders and that we're not just followers. We respect the federal government, but we understand our rights as a sovereign state of this great republic.
Perfect. Couldn't put it any better myself. And Lord knows there are plenty of people all throughout the country who appreciate and applaud the work that you and the governor did in order to make Florida that shining light during those tough times there. But we have you here. We're glad to have you here right now. So I hope you enjoy the last few days here at the ALEC annual meeting in Orlando, Florida. So this is Florida State Representative, Mr. Webster Barnaby, and we'll be back with you later.
Thank you.